Not feeling great. So, it's giant ass man Mosa time. Got a little sniffle and some drainage. Just enough to piss you off. Make your day hard to deal with, but not enough to actually put anybody in a, laid up situation. But I'm not going to drink a bunch because I'm going to slam NyQuil as soon as we're done with this motherfucker and go get another overly long night of health promoting sleep.
That sounds like a party.
I decided to make it fun this time with the Man Mosa. I put the You'll Shoot Your Eye Out cranberry spiced ale in with the OJ, so this actually should be a tropical delight. And it is. So don't expect any beer reviews from me tonight. I'm going to leave that to David because I'm reluctant to combine multiple beers with NyQuil.
I have nice stuff to.
Oh dear God. So other than that, I want to apologize for the shit-tastic audio that might have happened once or twice recently. Apparently, I had some microphone difficulties. But welcome to Brewing Controversy. I'm Lucas. This is David. Rob is here. Brian is here. Hello, gents. Good to see you. David, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. I survived the holidays. As you all will realize as we do our beer reviews, I still have way too much Christmas beer. And I'm generally just watching the news and laughing a lot. Okay, I'm having a very good beginning of the year, at least in terms of fun news for me.
We're going to do a month of that or a little later. Yeah, you had one more holiday weekend in the service industry to make it through. Last time we checked in last week, so you did the New Year thing. How'd that go? Great. Okay. Cool.
I mean, here's the thing. On one hand, I'd like to say it went. Here's the story. Uh-oh. So, my GM had been saying for since Christmas, hey, I'll put up the New Year's decorations.
Uh-oh.
So it's New Year's Eve. And I get in at 12. 12 in the afternoon.
Yeah, right.
And it's my kitchen manager looking at me being like, dude, I just got a text. We have to put up the New Year's decorations. I'm like, come again? I'm sorry. You must have been speaking like Chinese or something. I didn't understand that. Say that again. So I spent all of New Year's Eve running all around town. I found a helium tank. I found balloons. I found all sorts of stuff and managed to furiously decorate the place for New Year's Eve. But I mean, the problem is I work at a I work at a very mid to low volume bar. So our New Year's was not crushing. It was not, especially by the time I left, because I left at like 8 o'clock.
It might have gotten busier later, but
well, I talked to people. I talked to people later, and they're like, "Yeah, we did a good bit of business, but I mean, again, we're not. It's not a
destination. It's a neighborhood convenience.
Yeah, I mean, the main thing that we had going for us was every other bar in the neighborhood was charging for people to get in, and we weren't. Right. So
that was what our neighborhood spot, Blue Dog, right down the road from us, was doing a nice chill New Year's hangout kind of thing. We got there at 10 o'clock thinking we would want to cop a seat, and the place started clearing out. We quickly deduced that between 10 and 11:30, it was probably people's pregame for wherever they were going to drop in at 11:30. But yeah, it was nice. It was a good chill hangout. We walked down from the house because it's right here in the neighborhood and walked back. It was brisk, mid-30s, but not cold, because as I've said many times up here, for some reason, 30s are not offensive like the South version of 30s. Speaking of, I blame my migration for the frequency of getting little bugs of runny nose and things. I think I was joking this morning. I said I think what it is I had my whole lifetime in the South where I was, you know, adapted. I had an immunity to all the germs that I grew up with there, and there's a different breed of them here, and I'm not used to them yet. That's the humor that I'm going with. Rob had a typo, Alpha Brian. But it's funny because Brian has many aliases to back up his occasional bans from the Zuckerverse. So this really is the Alpha Brian, if you think about it. Anyway, good to see everybody. We're gonna have a lot of fun tonight. We've got plenty of things to laugh about. There we go. It's an interesting week so far. But before we can do all that, we're going to do our hot take happy hour. That is how we ease ourselves into these current events, these distractors from logic, reason, and intellect. So let's dive into that. We've got a few things to throw into the mix today. So the first, I didn't know about this, David, but you brought up that apparently there's a cancer rumor, which is always tough with somebody like Putin. You want to, I mean, I don't care if it's cancer or a bus or an anvil, so I'm not being
whatever does the job, right?
Exactly. I'm not being cruel.
As I sit here drinking my Gaelic ale because it'll start getting me there.
I don't want to be insensitive to cancer victims that are regular people, but if anybody in the world deserves anything that takes them out early, it's Putin. So,
well, I mean, considering how much
this is the word that he may be in some stage of cancer.
Yeah. Considering how much radioactive material he's handled to try and off other people, I'm not really shocked. The rumor from Ukrainian intelligence, and it's been an ongoing rumor that part of Putin's decision-making process and part of why his inner circle keeps on getting fuzzier and fuzzier and fuzzier and tighter and tighter and tighter is because in true Russian medical practice, they're like, well, chemo's for those people. We thought up something new that will rid you of your cancer. It's tap like just holding up a vial of tap water. It's this. I found this. Right. It's the Russian style of sucking up to the boss with whatever you've got at hand, and some of the. Yeah, right. It's a potato.
Right. It's potato. You eat potato. Potato cure.
Right. The rumor is that the drugs they've been giving him are part of the reason why he's made these decisions.
Also,
is
might
that
be part of the reason why he stays thousands of feet away from everybody he's in a room with.
Well, I mean, it would explain some of the things.
Compromised.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's things like the little tremors that he's had on state television, things like his decision-making process, whether or not it's been compromised by the drugs that they're giving him, all sorts of other little twitches, and also his, things that he is notorious for doing in a very specific way, like every New Year's. He has his New Year's address. That's his state of the Federation, state of Russia sort of thing, is to do that New Year's speech. And he had to postpone it this year. And people were like, that doesn't seem normal. It's little things that are adding up that are suggesting that he's not physically not well. And that may have led him into the mentally not well idea of trying to cement some sort of legacy by reconquering the old Soviet states. So
I don't know whether you think this makes him more dangerous or less. I'm inclined to think more until he keels over, and then he's immediately less, and the war can immediately end.
I think there's a lot of people around him, especially the military. Here's the thing that's starting to happen, and it's starting reportedly to happen in the higher military echelons, is they're starting to figure out that orders from the Kremlin are not good. They get their armies killed, and then when their army dies, they get blamed, and then they get sacked or fall out a window.
Yeah.
Right. So and now you have like slightly junior generals calling for the higher ups to be replaced again, which it's become this circular firing squad of trying to blame everyone for what's happened in Ukraine. Today they announced another offensive against Bakhmut, and the Ukrainians are just like, wait, hold on. When we did our offensive, we did it at your weak point, right? We did it at the place where we convinced you to take all the troops away and send them someplace we weren't attacking, and then we attacked you there. We can see you sending all the troops to the place that we are defending, and have been defending very well. I mean, it's gotten to the point. It's so bad that for those of you who aren't familiar, Wagner is a Russian, is essentially an arm of the Russian military. It's technically a private military contractor, but it just like Blackwater, worked hand in glove with the United States military. Wagner works very much hand in glove with the Russian military, and they actually, I mean, I don't know what they were thinking. They went to a field hospital and didn't bother to note the fact that there were bodies stacked up to the ceiling, all throughout this basement field hospital. That's how many losses the Russians are taking trying to take Bakhmut, and they keep on getting. There's all these stories of this heroic offensive, and they're trying to make this like a Stalingrad. But the only problem is that everyone's like, but we aren't winning. Right? And now there's calls for more mobilization, which will further hurt the Russian economy, further piss off the Russian people who, I mean, if you're in Moscow or St. Petersburg or, any of the major cities, you haven't really, in your Russian, you more than likely haven't really felt any, other than rising prices on stuff that you would buy. Like, I'd like to buy an Apple computer. Well, that just went up 1,000%.
Yeah.
Okay, I'd like to buy, chicken. And that's gone up. For a lot of these people, they haven't felt the war. And even with the mobilization, they felt it a little. But they've been, like, media and society has been able to pawn it off as, well, these are just the wastrels of our society. But if they do another mobilization, that's going to be a very hard narrative for them to keep up. They're going to realize, oh boy, we're in a serious war, and there's none of the setup, at least in Russian propaganda, for this to be they're trying to make this a patriotic duty, but no one's really buying it.
Yeah, they're playing a new game with old tools and logic. Well, whatever it is, if there's something wrong with Pootie Poo, all I can say is nature, do your thing and hurry the fuck up.
Right.
Speaking of cancerous growth, have you down in the South? Have you heard the phrase Ottawa County in the news at all? Does this make it around your way?
I've heard it, and I'm not making the immediate connection. I'm not going to lie.
Well, so just to the west is the next county, Ottawa County. It's the one that's actually on the lake. It's the one that Holland is in, where New Holland Brewing is headquartered, and they're also not known for being terribly forward-thinking, progressive, or liberal over that way. But it was in balance until this week, when all the Q fucks that were apparently pushed into victory positions by an organization called Ottawa Impact, on their first meeting, immediately after being sworn in as county commissioners, fired the administrator of the county and installed their own immediately with no warning whatsoever. And you want to guess who they installed? John fucking Gibbs, who lost for the House of Representatives this past cycle. John fucking Gibbs that questioned whether women should have the right to vote. So Trump's hand-picked favorite that was one of the losers in the lack of a red wave was installed by these clowns, and they apparently changed the vision statement immediately for the county, and they did away with the office of equity and inclusion immediately, the whole department.
I'm sure.
So basically, that's the headline. And you've got people in cities like Holland that are not known for being liberal, but also not known for being hateful shitbags. Their mayor is like, well, nobody knew that was happening, and I'm worried about jobs and business now. Because diversity, equity, and inclusion is a big deal. And LG just put a massive plant in Holland for their car battery business. And while I don't understand the name of this business unit because it's literally LG Energy Solution, not an S like it should be, but it's like badly translated Asian. LG Energy Solution. I think they're Korean, so it's like somebody badly translated the Korean to English and left off the S. Like, you would never call a company anything like that. If it was a battery company in the United States, it would be called Solutions. But LG Energy Solution is this company name that just recently arrived there, and it's been touted to be a big deal. I wonder how that company feels about the county's lack of interest in diversity and equity.
I mean, this is always the case. You know, if you look at the poorest counties in the country, they're always the most conservative. If you look at the counties that have businesses running away from them, they're the counties that are trying to become more conservative. If you look at the counties where business is moving into, they're liberal counties. It's this constant self-fulfilling prophecy.
They have a lot of the wealthiest. I mean, they have Holland and Grand Haven, which are two seriously nice, relatively wealthy.
But I mean, that's the thing is you start getting money moving away. One of the things that's been shocking to people is
the downward. Yeah.
One of the things that's been shocking to people is that Franklin is all of a sudden having to deal with some interesting problems. And for those of you who don't know, Franklin is a suburb of Nashville, notorious for being the the sort of venue where people do knockoffs of Dynasty as melodramas for television. It's if you're a country music star, you move out to Franklin. If you're a conservative fuckwit, you move out to Franklin. If you it's where you put your palatial estate. Well, the problem that they've been running into, and what's beginning to happen, is part of why you move out to Franklin is it's cheaper, right? The reality is this country music star realizes that they can spend $6-7 million on a palatial estate, where in Davidson County, Nashville, that $7 million is not going to get you a palace. Right, it's not gonna buy you land. You're not gonna sit down on your plantation porch with your white straw hat and sit there sipping your mint julep while individuals of an unnamed ethnicity mow your grass.
Right.
It's not that sort of deal. That $6 or $7 million will buy you a nice house. But I mean, these people go out to Franklin for these palatial estates. Well, the problem is that their service industry is collapsing, right. And the reason it's collapsing is because these people come in and all of a sudden they're like, "Well, that'll be $20 for dinner," and they're like, "Oh, now, Rob, listen, in Franklin." You're doing well if you're hiring Mexicans. It's what I'm referring to specifically is the bad tradition of the opposite of our of us melanin challenged individuals.
Franklin likes to get them black boys to do them jobs.
Yep. Because the problem is that they
are very similar. I would analogize Holland here in Michigan with Franklin, Tennessee.
I mean, they're running into this problem where all of a sudden their service industry jobs, you can't go to McDonald's, right, without having to pay more or them having a staffing problem. Right. Because they're like, why would I work in Williamson County where you all hate me and I only make minimum wage when I can drive just a little bit to Davidson County where the minimum wage by nature of the beast, pretty much starts at $15 an hour and goes from there.
We'll see what this does with Holland. It's interesting to see such a just balls out fucking wacko Q arrival, but then again, that's our main topic tonight, right? So,
Yep.
It's amazing the total lack of filter and control, and only 2 of the members of that county commission were incumbents, and neither of them, one from each party, neither of them were consulted by these insurgent wackos about what they were about to do. They just all of a sudden just dropped. As soon as they were sworn in, they started adding agenda items to the meeting. And
we'll kind of get to that.
So, in other news, speaking of frauds in political positions, you informed me about this one as well. I love this, that our man Santos, who we talked about last time, the complete 100% made-up human being that somehow managed to win and get sent to the House from New York, apparently he was on the run, so to speak, for bad checks in Brazil.
Well, the allegation was that he stole someone's checkbook and started writing bad checks, in this person's name to fund his lifestyle in Brazil. And this person obviously looked around and said, I didn't write those checks. Who wrote those checks? And fingers started to get pointed at Santos, at which point Santos decided to somehow find his way into the U.S. I'm going to be honest, I haven't researched how he made it into the U.S. He probably lied a lot too, because he is not a native-born U.S. citizen, so he had to go through the immigration process somehow. I would be really interested to find out how that happened.
I would be interested to know, just like out of all the things he's ever said or done, what has been true. It would be a shorter list at this point, because he's made of nothing but lies, from what I can tell.
You sit on a throne of lies. Thank you,
Right.
Will Ferrell.
Yeah. So they've figured out where he is because he made the news. So now they're coming after him again.
Yeah, this was the thing. They stopped chasing him. They stopped prosecuting him because they couldn't find where the hell he went, right? And then all of a sudden, he's a representative in New York, and the Brazilian court system was like,
Oh.
Pepperidge Farm remembers. And here's one of the
apparently it's like $700. Apparently it's over $700 in bad checks. Like, how? I mean, even in currency exchange, that's pathetic. Like,
well, no, not in Brazil though. You have to translate that. What's $700 into an average Brazilian in terms of their purchasing power parity? So I mean, you're talking about
no idea.
Several months worth of wages. You're talking about like $20,000, $40,000, $50,000 equivalent to the U.S.
Oh well, I guess that could be a big deal,
right? When a drink on the street costs 5 Brazilian real, and you translate that, like what is it, like $20-$30 to the Brazilian real?
Yeah, it's apparently 5.35. So that's a good $4,000 or so.
Yep.
Huh. Well, nothing would make me happier than seeing his dumb ass end up in trouble for something so small and stupid if he can't get in trouble for all these lies. Rob says Santos should have a movie with Tom Hanks. Catch Me If You Can too.
Oh no! Did you hear his newest big thing that he's chiming in about? That he voted against the last omnibus bill. Except here's the problem: the last omnibus bill was in December. Santos can't even vote yet. No congressman has been sworn in yet, so they can't vote on anything. So how the hell would he have voted on something that happened in December?
But you know what? This is what happens when your base is made of jackasses and rubes. They don't know how anything works.
How you doing, Staten Island?
They don't know when anything happens. They don't know anything. So they don't know anything, and he can just say whatever. It's the same way Trump got over. Well, last up for the happy hour, apparently the Cybertruck has made its way into the news. And of course, this gives David another opportunity for
yes,
Elon Musk hate boner. So tell us about the Cybertruck airbags.
So apparently, and these designs have been finalized and they've been submitted, and the NTSB is not, the National Transit Safety Board has not made a comment yet because their comment is going to be fun. Musk's vaunted Cybertruck, his piece of shit rehash of cyberpunk video games that doesn't go very far, doesn't have very much towing capacity, doesn't carry that much, doesn't have that much room for people.
Like PlayStation 1 graphics. It's like a polygon truck. It's astonishing. Anybody thinks this is futuristic.
It's an El Camino put together by by someone who had an El Camino described to them.
It's origami.
And then only had like rusty pieces of an aircraft carrier or something. I don't know, like
it's an
pieces
El Camino.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's
Anyway,
a terrible vehicle, but it does not
have any airbags. It's going to have the design and other advantages, or some bullshit excuse that I managed to pick up earlier.
By the way, someone didn't tell Musk. It is. I looked this up. It is federal regulation, or it's strongly suggested by the NTSB by regulation that all cars have airbags. Many states do require airbags, which means, and I want to point this out, that would mean that just driving this in the state of California is illegal. Just driving this in the state of New York is illegal. In New Jersey, Delaware, Maryland, Virginia, Pennsylvania, just driving it is illegal. It's not street legal because it doesn't have airbags.
That's gonna be so fun to watch.
I don't understand where he's so stupid. I mean, this is literally, for those of you who haven't watched The Glass Onion, please do, because it's really a send-up of Musk. And it was written before all this started to happen with Musk. And it's really, it ends up being a send-up.
It's
entirely unintentionally. Like, the author was just describing a random stupid tech bro and ended up...
In California, the airbags require airbags.
Right? That's actually not entirely inaccurate. In California, requires curtain airbags, as well as frontal airbags. I mean, he's so stupid. I mean, this is the thing. Everyone's like, Musk is a genius. No, he's not. He's an idiot. A lot of people pointed out, why does the new Tesla look worse than the original Teslas? Well, that's because the original design team just cribbed off of Lotus, which is another car company that makes high-end sports cars. And in fact, they actually went to Lotus and just bought frames from Lotus to build the cars. Since Musk has taken over from the actual founders of the company, he doesn't know what to tell the design team to do. No one knows what to do, and you keep on ending up with crappier and crappier product, which is why this went from a kind of cool-looking, souped-up sports or golf cart to now an ugly-looking golf cart. Yeah. Because, I mean, it has no major tech innovation in it. Everyone's like, oh, the self-drive feature. Well, the problem is the self-drive feature consistently seems to have problems.
Right.
Because, I mean, the only reason the self-drive feature is as far along as it is because they're gathering data from basically millions of testers, which is the people who are driving it.
Yeah, right.
Right. And those testers are essentially paying Tesla to refine their self-drive feature. It's idiocy, and all that money for the Cybertruck is now going to go down the hole because now they've got to go all the way back to the drawing board,
right,
to figure out how they're going to put in not only airbags, but I'm pretty sure right now after this, regulators are going to look at them and be like, and I want curtain airbags, and I want a full-on safety test. I want to see this thing get smashed by a Mack truck.
It's just
4 times, like from all 4 directions, just to see how it works.
Never going to materialize at this rate. Like they just keep fucking up, and it's really fun to watch. I forgot what it was that people are out. Was it $500 reservation fee or some bullshit? I felt like that was a scam when I first heard about it. And
I
now
mean,
I'm
it's
for it.
always a scam. I mean, besides SpaceX, I mean, first of all, Tesla has never made money. SpaceX is actually closer to being profitable than any of his other companies, and it's the one company that where the executive board explicitly keeps Musk out of decision making. And on top of it, he may lose SpaceX. He's going to have to start selling stuff here in a little bit because he's become the first person in human history to lose $200 billion from his own stupidity. Because all his wealth is simply tied up in Tesla stock, and the only way he can continue to fund his stupidity is by selling Tesla stock. And Tesla stock keeps on going down. And we were talking about earlier. I wanted to talk about Tesla being unsafe. He's like, well, that's kind of an old story. Well, it's now starting to hit newsstands again because the Cybertruck is so unsafe. And now we're having to look at Tesla and be like, this is a pretty unsafe car.
Yeah. Well, it's time to drink. Well, at least for you, I'm going to keep nursing this concoction I created, my cranberry spiced ale OJ Manmosa. But for you, sir, it's time to ask, what you drinking?
And we're going to go for an old favorite of ours, at least in terms of breweries.
Oh, okay.
This is the Three Floyds Alpha Claus.
Woohoo!
Now, why am I doing more Christmas beer? And I'm going to tell you why.
Have a lot of it. You haven't gone through it yet.
I have not been able to completely kill all the Christmas beer that I have in stock. So, man, that's got a really awesome head to it, I gotta say. This is a porter, which I'm kind of excited about because a lot of American brewers shy away from porters. They're like, oh, I want to make a stout. I want to make another stout. Porter takes effort. Porter takes time. Porter has to age longer. Porter, again, my favorite phrase with beer. Let the yeast do its job.
Yeast do its job. We're gonna have to have like a little banner for that phrase.
I'm gonna have to have a T-shirt that says "Let the yeast do its job."
And then
so
wear it to a strip club and tell me how that goes.
It's biscuits.
What?
Biscuits.
No, ma'am. No, this was about beer. Oh no. Oh God.
No, so we were gonna talk about something a little bit, which is a very popular meat and three restaurant here in Nashville is closing. Arnold's.
I forgot that in the I was incensed a couple hours ago, and then
right. And you know that happens. The hospitality industry is having to evolve, and some of these meat and threes are some will successfully evolve, some will not. And I feel bad for Arnold's, but we were in the line for Arnold's, and one of our female friends was currently suffering from a very bad yeast infection. She's like, "Oh, I could have made these biscuits."
just when I think I found the bottom of the bad jokes, someone always comes along with a better one. Well, how is that thing?
Oh, so
the fact that you have a massive head to get through, and it's seriously dark and yummy looking. How is it?
It's actually surprisingly light.
Really? Huh.
I was not expecting that. That is surprisingly, like the foam just moves straight out the way. It's just like a stable thing on top.
I do love the artwork. It's like the devil meets Nightcrawler meets Vikings.
It's Three Floyds. You can only imagine how many drugs they are on, like their art department is on at any given point.
So it's a big American Christmas porter brewed with English chocolate malt, Mexican sugar, and of course, tons of strange American hops. That's the description.
You know, I think that's what's lightening it up.
The 3.2 with like 53,000. That's a lot of ratings. And it's 7.3 alcohol. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think the hops are what are lightening it up so much. This is the hoppiest porter I think I've ever had. Normally, you're used to these big, heavy, nut and chocolate
Right.
and coffee,
Right.
and maybe like for some of other Three Floyd's other offerings, like Robert the Bruce, you get like a big berry flavor kind of mixed in there. Robert the Bruce has like a very clear blueberry note in it. This, you're getting actually a hop note, and it's causing it to lighten up a lot. It's not coming across as heavy. This is coming across almost like a Schwarzbier. And for those of you who don't know what that is, a Schwarzbier
Brian
is
has bail, but he wants us to know that Kevin McCarthy is challenging him for the speakership. Way to tee that up.
yeah. But for those of you who don't know, a Schwarzbier is a dark German lager that is black and is a little bit chunkier than most lagers that you have, but it has
is that reminding you of a Schwarzbier to some
It's
extent?
reminding me of a Schwarzbier.
Yeah, I can see that. It sounds and looks delish. I don't remember. I got a variety when I stopped by Three Floyds, and I haven't broken all of them out yet. So I'll try to check and see if I have that one, so I can give an opinion on that one pretty soon. Let's jump in. Speaking of the speakership, I mean, if nothing else, the modern Republican Party is the gift that just keeps on giving.
Oh,
So
Jesus.
McCarthy was supposed to just show up and become speaker. That's how this shit works. And David, I've been waiting for days to be able to talk to you about this because I know that you know little tidbits and stuff. But
I have a theory. I have a theory of what's happened.
well, before we do that, let's bring everybody up to speed if they've been living under a rock. Typically, there's a pretty much a shoe-in for the speaker, which is the majority leader, the leader of the party that's currently got the most members. Typically, it's one round of voting, and boom, it's done. They've already kind of reached an agreement. They already know who's going to be coming in. But in this case, there are a whole bunch of wacko QAnon holdouts that, feature the likes of Boebert and Gates. And hey, at 11, like you quipped earlier this week or today or something, at 11, it's almost old enough for Gates to be interested.
Right?
Hey, let's see, Boebert, Marjorie Taylor
Just to
Greene.
clarify, the joke was everyone knows Gates won't make a move until it's at least at 13.
Yeah, right. But it's supposed to be a simple, cut and dry, simple process, right? And it has turned into a ridiculous fucking clown show. And the thing that blows my mind about this is it so ludicrously highlights a stupidity in our system that they can't swear in the new members to vote and do anything until they have a speaker, which to me speaks to an invalidity of this whole system anyway. Like if they can't vote on anything, they're not sworn in. How the fuck do they even get to help pick the speaker? It's such a silly system to me to begin with. And then this possibility, I think the most that we've ever gone is 160 rounds of voting. I mean, people think this has been going on for a minute. There's just this week. We could be doing this shit for months.
Rob just taught me.
McCarthy's trying to get it to 20 so Gates loses interest. Oh, it's very good.
Oh, my God.
Very, very good.
I mean, I disagree with you there. Again, I disagree with you, at least in terms of procedural stuff, like typically on congressional stuff, about how this is supposed to work. I mean, the speaker is supposed to set the agenda for the House. And the reason this is set up this way is we can't have an agenda because someone's supposed to set the agenda. We have to choose the person who's going to set the agenda. There we go. But I have a theory as to what's happened here.
That's what I'm looking forward to because I've heard
I have a
so many
theory.
other pundits all week. I haven't gotten to hear yours.
I have a theory. So here's, I think, what was going to happen, or what was supposed to happen, is this rebel faction was supposed to basically put, just like you do with a puppy, put Gates' nose in the shit, and spank his ass. Which he, maybe not the spanking. He would have liked that. Because Daddy Trump. That's what it goes down to Mar-a-Lago for Daddy Trump to do for him.
Right.
I didn't say I didn't say McCarthy likes it, but I mean he's enough of a spineless asshole that he'll just yes, Daddy Trump,
Right.
waddle over and bend over to assume the spanking position.
So why do you think it went beyond just a little tap on
So
the
here's
nose?
what I think happened: is I think that they were just going to do it for maybe 1 or 2 or 3 votes, and I think what happened in McCarthy, and because this would copy with how McCarthy operates. There should have been an understanding from the McCarthy camp of okay, they're gonna do their little protest, and we're gonna hold firm, and we're going to move them back into line, and it'll be okay. But I think McCarthy panicked. I think McCarthy had been like he took them at their word, and that's something you never do with nut jobs. Is
Yeah.
you never take nut jobs at their word. And I think he took them at their word, and he panicked, and then he started trying to make concessions to get their vote.
Right.
And then I think that what happened was they started to see, oh wait,
There's blood in the water.
I mean, yeah, now there's blood in the water. Now he's like, okay, what can I give you to get your vote? I mean, for instance, when Nancy Pelosi had leadership challenges in the past few Congresses, Nancy Pelosi would call the person to her office and be like, so here's how it's going to be. You will get no policies on the agenda. You will get nothing. I will make sure that you get reelected. That is what I will give you, because I am Speaker of the House and leader of the House Democratic Caucus.
Right.
That is my job. I understand that you feel the need to have this little temper tantrum to rally support for your base in your district. I will give you the money that is necessary to smooth that over with them. But you will get nothing else.
Right.
Because
Kind of how Bader did it. Bader was apparently a big game player in that regard. He would level it down. Like, look, I'm not going to fuck with you. If you want to fuck with me, you're going to get fucked.
yeah,
And he ruled with a little bit of an iron fist and got what he needed. These people have been talked about a lot by all the pundits and media for how much they're into just inflating their own image, just feeding their own Twitter accounts, just stoking their crazed bases, and the ego trip and the personal gratification and name recognition, and never mind the fact that they're fucking ideological terrorists. They have no idea how anything works. They're just there to break shit. They,
but I mean that I feel like that's what
in tech move fast and break things. These people want to break things, move slow, and fix nothing in the process.
No, they want to move fast and break things. They want to do that. They believe in moving fast and breaking things because
I don't think
they
care about
moved
moving
on this
fast.
pretty.
They've made it clear they're willing to let the House sit in limbo for months if that's what it takes to break it. They don't
Well,
like
here's the-
government. They just don't like government. They
don't like. It's not that you're assuming that they have a like or dislike of government. They have neither.
Good point. They may not know enough to understand how they feel about government.
Here's what I'm thinking, and I want to point out when I did my solo show a few weeks ago, I proffered, didn't I? For those of you who remember watching, I proffered we could be looking at Speaker Jeffries. I'm beginning to think that if this keeps on going on, what's left of the moderate wing of the Republican Party may snap. They may break.
I have been for like at least 24 hours, if not 48 hours. I've been very interested in somebody saying, you know what, fuck it, I'm voting for Jeffries. I would love that. I think that would be even more.
Well, because here's the thing:
hilarity
is
in the mix.
Jeffries? Because here's the thing: the conservatives have already tried to reach out. That was one of the most hilarious moments that we saw. Was it Gozer or Gomer? I forget which one it was. There's
Gozer, the one that was, or Gozer, Gosar, I think. But we say Gozer because of Ghostbusters. But he's
yeah,
the one-
I'm gonna say good. You know what? I liked my version better.
He
I
was
liked
sitting
my
there trying
version
to
better.
negotiate with AOC after his tasteless video meme. And
Yeah,
she's like,
after.
So we're not going to leave. We're not going to do anything to help you. Go away.
Yeah, because apparently at some point McCarthy's team started to form that as a strategy of, well, the Democrats will just simply leave because that would be an option. Is if enough Democrats left, then the quorum would change.
Yeah,
Right?
for those that haven't followed or don't know how, the number present and voting can go down, and the threshold to win goes down with it.
Right.
Which
But
is
if
not
every Democrat,
confused with the plurality option, which is how we could get Jeffries, which is plurality is simply one more vote than the other guys.
yeah, it requires a majority of the persons present in the chamber to vote. By the U.S. Constitution, 2/3 of the body must be present in the chamber in order to vote. The majority of that, which is 50% plus one, half plus one, must vote for any measure, right? So if the entire chamber is there, right, which has been consistently happening, then McCarthy needs 218 votes. You can't get 218 votes. Jeffries keeps on showing up with 212 votes because the Democrats are voting in lockstep. I begin to wonder if there's not 4 Republicans who might be convinced to be like, listen, do you think McCarthy is going to help you? Do you think you have, after this debacle, do you think you have any chance of re-election with this guy?
Right.
I'll make you a deal. I've got Manchin in my fucking party, for fuck's sake. Listen,
Yeah.
I'll let you be the most conservative fucking Democrat who's ever done, or you know what? I'll look at you and be like, hey, do you want to start the Federalist Party? There you go. I'll give you a committee assignment. I will give you.
It has to be that complex. I think that
No, I mean,
a handful of people that just say, "I am fucking done with this bullshit." But here's my question for you, because this is the part that nobody talks about on the news. None of the pundits have covered this. Notwithstanding any fucked up rules, and we're going to talk about some of these fucked up demands that these QAnon wackos are trying to make. But notwithstanding any of their fucked up ideas, if Jeffries were to be elected, like if they just said, fuck it, we're going plurality, and, well, actually, they wouldn't really have to go plurality. They would just have to defect, right?
Yeah, it'd be 8 of them. 8 of them defecting.
8 defections would do the job without a plurality, but they could call for plurality if they get tired of the bullshit.
Or no,
from what I understand,
it's 6. I'm sorry, I suck at math. I went to law school.
You're right.
Like it's 6
now,
defections.
218 later. So if they had 6 defections, they wouldn't even have to vote to take it to a plurality, because that's a different. They either have to defect, or the whole House has to say, let's just go plurality. Who's in? And then they vote yes to that, and then they go to the simple majority.
They can't do that under the Constitution. That would be instantly challenged under the Constitution.
Apparently, that's what all the pundits keep talking about, is that they could just hold a vote to take it to a plurality instead of a majority.
I mean, it's kind of a House rule, but I mean, I would argue that would be very suspect under the Constitution.
Well, either way, if they got to Jeffries somehow, how does that work?
So in what's called Westminster
2 years period.
Well, okay, so in what's called Westminster systems, like the UK, Canada, all sorts of other places around the world, there's what's called confidence and supply. Now, what does that mean, confidence and supply? We're not a part of your government. So, like the UK has 3 significant parties, and they have enough smaller parties that it can tilt the balance one way or the other. For instance, the Conservatives have held power in at many instances over the past 10 years in the United Kingdom with the support of the Democratic Union Party, which is a conservative party out of Northern Ireland, which supplies them with 10 members. They are not an official part of government, however. They are what are called confidence and supply. Confidence and supply means that in a Westminster system, right, you can dissolve government at any time, right? All it takes is a majority vote of the people in the chamber to say, we no longer believe that you should be prime minister. We're going to have a vote. If you lose the vote, then new elections are called. So that's called a vote of no confidence. So when a party joins, when a party says they'll provide confidence. That means if someone calls a vote of no confidence against you, we'll supply votes to back you up and make sure you don't lose a vote of no confidence.
Gotcha.
Supply. Another essential element of government is the ability to create a budget. When you bring your supply bill, your budget bill to the floor, we'll vote with you. But we are not an official part of your government. We will vote however we want on anything else. So that's what's called confidence and supply. There is an opportunity right now for several Republicans to enter into a confidence and supply agreement with the Democrats.
That could be
which is to say, we'll vote for you for Speaker. If someone tries to vote to vacate the chair, we'll vote against that. We'll vote with you on budget. Assuming you negotiate with us, of course. But we don't have to vote with you on anything else. So that's what I feel is the best option to get out of this. Because I can definitely see several. I mean, if Kissinger was still in there, and Meyer and his slight temper tantrum moment in leaving, but both of them being like, "Oh, the Democrats are so mean." What the fuck, you?
Whatever.
Right? Yeah. Cry me a river. World's smallest violin, dude.
I mean, I'm still mixed in my opinion of that tactic, but if you're gonna whine about it coming from the GOP, fuck off.
Yeah, right. We'd like a word. I think there's an opportunity for what's left of any sort of right of center Republican to stand up and be like, "I'm sorry, Kevin, you don't have the votes. You're giving away the farm to try and get actual fucking Nazis on board."
Right, you're gonna end up putting the whole country as a hostage of these fucking
and we won't be able to vote for those things, right? We have to go back to our districts, and our suburban districts are going to look at us and be like, "You did what?"
Yeah, exactly.
So you know what I can do is I can walk away and say, "I'm not going to vote for you. I'm going to vote for Jeffries. I'm going to form a confidence and supply agreement with him, and in exchange, I now become essentially more powerful than you, and I can go back to my district when they're like, 'How dare you vote for Jeffries?' and be like, 'How you like that new school building?'"
Right. So,
which apparently is one of the big.
If Jeffries got in,
Yeah.
wouldn't it be a constant battle to try to get rid of him? Like, wouldn't we just see them constantly trying? Like, how do you unseat the speaker anyway? Like,
A vote to vacate the chair.
But how big of a vote is that?
I mean, it's only happened in my knowledge. It's only happened like 3 or 4 times, and only once when the speaker was actually still in the chair, which was
right now hasn't happened for 100 years. So,
well, I mean, this happened a few years ago. So for those of you who don't remember, Bonner, spelled Boner,
pronounced Boehner.
Bonner, Boehner, whatever the hell his name is, Ohio Republican, ran the Republican Party like with an iron hand, and he did a pretty good job at it. And when the Tea Party first showed up, he was pretty prescient about, "Oh, hell no, this is a bad idea. This is a super bad idea. I'm going to clamp down on this hard."
Because what you're seeing now is the evolution of those people.
Yeah, I mean, like, Boehner took a hammer. If you want to get biblical, Jesus and the moneylenders, with Jesus. Most people don't realize this. Like, the Bible is actually fairly descriptive about Jesus sitting there making a giant whip, right, to beat the crap out of the moneylenders in the temple, and he's you got to be like sitting there, and be like, "Fuck you. Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you," but sitting there rapping that whip.
Right.
Boehner basically did that, except then he tied nails into it, and he went after the Tea Party pretty hard. To be like, no. I'm speaker. You do what I say, or I'm going to
But what
fuck
does it take?
your shit up.
What does it take to vacate the seat?
So eventually, the Tea Party was able to get enough votes in the Republican Party to call a vote to vacate the chair.
Which
and
is how many?
It's a majority. It takes a majority to vote to vacate the chair, and they removed Boehner from the speakership by basically saying he was basically saying the vote to vacate the chair is basically saying we as the House of Representatives no longer recognize anyone as being in the position of speaker.
Okay.
That's how so it's technically not a vote of no confidence. It's technically a vote that there is no speaker.
If we got to have our respectively girthy liberal hard-on of Jeffries getting in, wouldn't we just see 2 solid years of them doing nothing but trying to get rid of him and getting nothing done?
Again, but that's what a confidence and supply motion is. They can call the vote they can try and call the vote as many times as they want, and they'd be like, do you have a second? Okay, let's call the vote, and you lose.
Yeah,
done. And because eventually, here's what happens: you can't continuously call the same vote again and again and again in any legislature. It's what's called tabling the motion.
Possibly could.
It's
up any way they can.
But that's the thing. But that's the thing is in the House. The House is not designed to be jammed up. The House is designed compared to the Senate. The House is on greased rails, man. At least in terms of how it works. It's not designed to be jammed up. That's one of the big deals about why this is so bad. The House is designed to go pretty quick, and then it goes to the Senate, and the Senate says, "Do you have 60 votes?"
Yeah, fair enough. Well, speaking of those thresholds, that's one of the deals that the wackos have been putting on the table that McCarthy hasn't caved to, which was something crazy, like they could unseat the speaker with only 5 votes, which is basically them saying, us 5, right here, us 5 wackos, us 5, we want to be able to fire you whenever. And
well,
I mean, no.
Yeah. The other thing was, again, this is a thing that, like, right now, apparently the leadership is trying to bait them with, and they're like, oh, we'll call a vote on it, and they'll never succeed. I know there's a lot of people who watch our show who are like, yeah, term limits on congressmen sound like a great idea. And me and Lucas typically disagree on this. But I'll tell you, as someone who's worked in government, term limits are a terrible, terrible, terrible idea. Because one of the things that makes...
I just don't think we should have to worry about it because we could make terms limited by not allowing other things to happen, like gerrymandering.
I mean, and that's also true. But, I mean, the main thing is having in my experience, one of the things that I saw begin to break down when I was working in Congress was Congress worked really well when you had a professional cadre of professional legislators. And those professional legislators were able to take all the little newbie rookie legislators under their wing and be like, okay, so let me show you how to get a bill passed. Let me show you how these negotiations work. It's like the other thing that I think that has led us to this point was the Tea Party coming in and saying we need to get rid of pork barrel spending. Pork barrel spending is in any actual democracy is, I would argue, one of the most essential elements to the functioning of that democracy because it allows people to vote for stuff that they would otherwise not vote for. Why? Right. Because they can go back to their district and say, again, the classic example to me was always Marie Landrieu out of Louisiana.
Yeah.
Democrat who would very often not inconsistently vote with Republicans. And why would she vote with Republicans or anyone? Because all of a sudden she would show up with $500 million for her state to do something like studying the efficacy of turtle soup. This was an actual thing. $500 million over 15 years to study the impact of the consumption of turtle soup on the turtle population. She made sure that all sorts of people in her district, or in her state, because she was a senator, were able to turn around and be like, you know what? Mary Landrieu showed up with a federal grant for me of $5 million. I'm going to vote for Mary Landrieu.
Yeah, right.
I don't care that she's a Democrat. I don't care that she's sometimes a Democrat, sometimes a Republican. I don't care. Mary Landrieu shows up with my money, and that makes things work, right? When representatives and senators can go back to their states and districts and say, "This is what I did for you," even though I took a vote that you may not have liked so much. I made sure that you got my people got their cut, and it makes things work. And when we got rid of pork barrel spending,
I love the idea that the wheel and deal could be a way for Jeffries to become a cross-party speaker. I just hope it doesn't end up with a bunch of distraction if it were to happen. Now let's talk about the one other factor is that anybody could be speaker. Not literally anybody. I think you have to be a citizen. Probably have to have a certain age bracket met. But now you've got people like fucking Matt Gaetz nominating Trump as speaker because technically Trump is as eligible as anyone.
Yep.
So now there's another wrench. I mean, these little sniveling anarchist pricks are essentially just trolling this whole process. They don't give a fuck. They just want to watch the world burn. They just want to watch chaos ensue because they hate the establishment. They hate being told anything. They have a huge chip on their shoulder. Fucking Bob Good. I could have gone the rest of my life without listening to Bob Good talk. And recently, a couple hours ago, he's talking about all of his list of fucking bullshit QAnon grievances about, telling us what we had to put in our bodies and what we should wear on our faces. Like, yeah, you mean like my whole fucking lifetime of required vaccines to do shit. Like, it's the same old tired-ass arguments these fucking jackass idiots have been digging up for the last 3 years. And now there's a handful of them that are essentially holding the speakership thing hostage with their bullshit. And it's like I really want one of the Democrats to stand up and nominate Mickey Mouse just to make fun of this shit.
Mickey, but actually, I'm pretty sure there is a rule against nominating non-people. But I mean, they could. If I was a Democrat and I really just wanted to, here's the thing. I do appreciate the Democrats are following a dictum of Napoleon, which is never interrupt your enemy when he's making a mistake.
Right. They so are. They really, really are. They're doing a great job of it.
Right. But I mean, if they wanted to piss him off, they should just put Hillary Clinton up for speaker.
Yeah.
That would just be like, boop.
They could really fuck with him and make sure that she gets the 212 votes on one round. That would scare the bejesus out of him. But then again, that would help McCarthy get it all.
Yeah, it would. And again, never interrupt your enemy when he's making a mistake.
Right. Right.
The Democrats are doing a great job, and I think again, because here's one of the things I pointed out to someone else, and I think you saw some of that comment thread about the Republicans have run, like, if you look at the Democrats, we have people like Manchin. We used to have people like Sinema, who will probably, I anticipate, may not be a senator in this next election cycle.
Yeah, I think she's fucked.
She's burned so many bridges, and the problem is, I think Cindy McCain is pissed enough at the Republicans that she's willing to look at the Arizona GOP and be like, when you get to hell, tell them it was me. Because she's done with it after how they treated
Absolutely.
after how they treated Senator McCain.
Absolutely.
I think she's enough done with it that she's being like, yeah, I'm gonna kill all of you, and you're gonna know that I did it. I'm gonna look you in the eye when I twist the knife again. I think she's going to have a hard time in Arizona. But, I mean, the thing is, though, like, people like Kristen Sinema and Manchin still have places in the party. People like Delaney. I look at Delaney, I'm just like, could you find another like big corporate ball sack for you to suckle from. Like just like the whole tongue is out. Like you're doing your own sort of like strange, right?
You're down there, Elena Tyrell.
No, I mean, like, here's the thing. Elena Tyrell is going to be taking notes from Cindy McCain by the time she's done. Be like, damn.
The last piece of this, David, before we slide to the next beer, is just the fact that this demonstrates so clearly the difference. It's kind of like what you said about the Napoleon thing, that the Republicans have utter chaos, no idea how to govern. They don't understand how anything works. They're
not there to govern,
but they're getting their asses handed to them by the people that don't know how shit works, don't care how shit works. They just want to break shit. They're showing in these few days how shitty they are at governance. And the Democrats, by remaining solid and just chilling out at that 212 with Jeffries, are demonstrating, yeah, we know how shit works, we know how to govern, we know how the system operates, and we know what to do.
I will say this. I do have one thing that I know is going to piss you off, but it would be an idea. So Jeffries is 2 left for you all. Okay. Well, what compromise candidate can the Democrats throw up? My favorite Virginia Democrat, Spanberger.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Yes!
They're never going to do something like that, because at this point, anybody doing anything like that would be dissing the black man. Like, they've been celebrating the historic presence of Jeff.
No, I mean it's a compromise candidate. It's a woman. It's a woman. Granted, she's white, but it's a woman. She doesn't. She's too junior to have any sort of major political machine. She can walk in and they'll be like, well, she's only going to be speaker for 2 years. It'll be fine. She's in a contested district.
Spanberger Fantasyland. You're living there again.
I am. It's really.
It's okay.
I mean, I'm sorry. She just hits such a demographic sweet spot, like with so many places. Like, she's a former CIA analyst, so she's smart. She's college educated. She's white. She's a woman. She's from a suburban county. It's just like it's Lollapalooza, dude. It is literally like. Please put I would love to see what the Republicans would try and do against the Spanberger presidency. Be like, what? Because the only reason you hold on to power is white women.
You are so politically nerdy that you're so enthralled. But it's time for another round. I'm going to let you carry this round for a minute. I'm going to try to do some more terrible, awful things to my nose so that I can breathe and speak a little bit better. But we'll jump in with David's next review right now with another round.
So before I open this, I just want you all to see like the beautiful like wax marbling on the top of this. This is Enduin. It's a local Nashville brewery. It's got a little guy fighting a demon there. I have no idea, with this giant sword. But I mean, it's just a very pretty bottle. It's got this nice little rustic look. Like, I had to pull this big little tab on it. It's really, I'm kind of excited about this. And oh wow, like the wax is sticking to the top. It's kind of cool. I have to kind of get that off. Well, I may not be able to. We'll see what I can do. All right, there we go. Got it off. This is a milk stout. For those who don't know, Living Waters is kind of, it's a beer nerd brewery. We're talking about people who are making stuff for shits and giggles that sometimes may taste like shit, and then they'll tell you, well, it costs you that much, it can't actually be bad. I'm kind of surprised by how little head it has. I've let it sit for a little bit. I've actually had this for about like about 2 months. I was intending to drink it on Christmas, and I didn't because I had to go to work. So yeah.
It is a
It's
pretty
got
bottle.
it really is. It's just such a like I gotta be honest. The kerning and font choice on this, I is whatever. Like and also the color scheme, everything about it.
Beautiful. That's
And
a
and like the
$27 bottle of beer you got there, sir.
yes, it is. You can see the price tag on it. It is a very expensive bottle of beer. I gotta say, it's got a big alcohol phenol in the nose.
That was the other reason I skipped the beer tonight is I can't smell anything.
And it carries through in the taste, but I gotta be honest, in the taste, it's coming across more chocolatey. Yeah,
That
it is a
checks
lot
out.
more chocolatey.
Their description
That's very.
is it's a 10.1%, which is nice. That's a beer bringing something to the party. 4.25 average rating. The wizard beckons you for a journey, and Duin has returned. Our well-loved cinnamon and vanilla imperial milk stout is back after a long hiatus. This time on draft and in branded bottles. Thick bubblegum sweetness, rich cinnamon complexity, and well-rounded vanilla come together to create a deep filling stout. It sounds delicious. Is it delicious? Would I like it with my fat kid dark beer tendencies?
I would say yes. I would say this would be above your normal white trash shoving candy down your throat routine with desserts.
Good.
But this is. I can see where they see the bubble gum. I'm getting a lot more. I think where they see the bubble gum is how the vanilla is playing out.
Yeah,
because
that's a weird descriptor to have in there. Bubblegum. It's not something I would normally.
I think that's what they're thinking when they say bubble gum, because what it is so the alcohol flavor is actually mixing with a little bit of the chocolate nib that's in there, and because it's got chocolate nib in there somewhere, I'm sure. But a little bit of the chocolate nib, but the vanilla is mixing with that alcohol note and creating a stronger vanilla. Like it's for those of you who've ever smelled a raw vanilla pod, I'm getting a lot of that flavor in my mouth.
Yeah.
And the cinnamon actually is what is I'm getting in the middle of the palate. Yeah.
I'm looking through the photos, the fan photos on Untapped, and somebody is drinking it out of a dragon's milk souvenir glass. That's
So yeah, it's really it's an interesting journey because it starts with that alcohol note and then it moves to very quickly to like a dark chocolate, and then the cinnamon comes in, and the cinnamon is actually what's hanging around in my mouth right now. Is that cinnamon flavor, but then like the end palate, like a big finish, is that alcohol note and that vanilla note come together, and it boosts the vanilla note, so it's like super rich. I would compare it to if you've ever had like really like bougie vanilla ice cream.
oh, okay, yeah.
Like if you've ever had super bougie vanilla ice cream and like it just like they've obviously taken the vanilla pod and like smashed it up and like a bunch of vanilla pods and smashed them up and added that extract direct, like that raw fresh extract directly into the cream that they were working with. That's what it tastes like. It's like that big vanilla flavor because the alcohol is boosting it. It's kind of cool. It's taking that vanilla flavor and it's just making it bigger, which is not something I can say that I've seen that many times before. Like normally alcohol flavor like that, you're working to get it out of things, or you're using it as a counterpoint in the flavor of a beer. Like you'll have that alcohol phenol and it will come in and it'll be like, ow, oh. Like it's very much a pleasure pain thing.
Yeah.
This is using it in a way that I can't say that I've probably seen this a couple of times, but I'm definitely seeing it here, which is it's boosting a flavor by virtue of its presence, in that it's not a pleasure pain thing. It's mixing with that vanilla flavor, because vanilla already has a little bit of an alcohol-ish note to it, but it's taking that vanilla flavor and pushing it forward so that what you taste is big vanilla at the end.
I find it interesting that they're located on Trinity Lane, and they're just on the other side of the highway from East Nashville Beer Works. You could actually make yourself a nice little brewery crawl out of the east side of town.
I'm not crossing that road.
If you made the right loop. No, I'm not talking about on foot. I'm talking
Yeah,
about
no, not on foot. No. That's called a death sentence.
in respectable moderation.
For those of you who aren't familiar, Nashville has a very tenuous relationship with crosswalks and or pedestrian rights.
Yeah. In fact, I had I would say 2 or 3 blocks from East Nashville Beer Works, on that street is where I had a cousin struck by a vehicle as a pedestrian and killed. So, very real pedestrian problems in Nashville. Very real. But they're all over there together with, you can hit the tailgate that's in the east if you want like the least authentic tailgate experience, I guess. But there's some good stuff to be had on that eastern side loop if you make a loop through a few good breweries.
I gotta say, Southern Grist is actually closer to Tailgate East.
Yeah, that's another.
And so is Black Abbey.
No, Black Abbey is in 100 Oaks. You're on the complete opposite side of town.
Is that not Black Abbey? Who's over there? There's another. Is it Bearded Iris? Is that who's over there?
No, I don't think so. I'd have to look all that up.
No, there's another one hidden off of Gallatin.
Well, now Yahoo is way up there with the east side, so you could actually do that too. It's okay. It'll come to you. But that one sounds great, dude. I'm about to try it next time I'm around.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you can find it, because I think I got like, again, this was me going through the Reds sort of. We couldn't sell any of this pile,
right?
Probably because it had that price tag on it.
That could be
although then again, I had a whole conversation. So there's a local meadery called Superstition, and we had a whole laugh over the fact that there was a bottle of "We Can't Sell This" mead over in the beer section, and it was still priced at $65. I don't like Superstition. Like they're a local meadery, but they literally will not drop their price below $40 a bottle.
Damn.
Yeah. Well, Olivia, I want to tell you, like the one thing I love about my beer store rejects is like, again, this was it marked down.
Right. Right.
Like these are the reason I go over to my beer store rejects is because these are normally like $60, $70 bottles. It's one of the reasons why I like, if I could, I would. They're getting to the point where they're starting to mark down some of their Monday night stash that they've been holding out on because they've got to get rid of it. People got to drink it.
Get in on that.
But I mean, like
the Living Waters menu, and it appears they have a general Dungeons and Dragons, Wizards, Tolkien, Viking kind of spin.
I'm rather surprised. I've never heard of these guys until now. I'm shocked.
They've got Sieg and Berg and Triberg and
Angry.
Waigui
I mean, Angry Gnome and
Orba,
Smith
Sterling,
and
Highgate 1, Yosemite B8, Muse, Fjord. I mean, they're doing a pretty specific thing there.
I mean, here's the thing that I'm surprised by this Living Waters thing is, like, people, like, there are breweries all around that area. So, like, Angry Gnome, Smith and Lintz, they are well known. These people have apparently been in operation for a bit, and I've never heard of these people. Even
cruising.
Yeah, even outfits like Creature Comfort. Like, you still, like, they still have at least a branding department that apparently does a decent enough job that, like, oh, I recognize their tap handle. I have never seen these motherfuckers anywhere.
But now
I don't know who
for it because you tasted something good, and now you're going to look for more. Well, let's
I mean,
talk about the last thing in our
agenda
tonight is the pet topic. It was kind of your pet topic. It was a hot
Well,
topic
because I
for
fucked
you.
up. I honestly thought the motherfucker was dead.
Well, so
So
we're of course talking about the NFL in a general sense and in a more specific sense. And I need to look. I need to look at the latest updates. I don't think there's a lot.
he is still in critical condition. Apparently,
But
it
DeMar
was the
Hamlin,
last I heard.
So David comes out of nowhere. It was actually really kind of entertaining to watch you be this wrong.
Yeah, I mean, again,
David
for
comes out
those
of
of you who don't
nowhere.
know, I will always admit if I'm actually fucking wrong.
So Monday night, David's like, "Well, I guess we can add watching someone die on TV to our agenda." And I was like, "What?" Because I don't follow football. But during the Monday night football game, if you live under a rock and you haven't heard by now, DeMar Hamlin went down and was resuscitated on the field by a full-fledged medical crew of everything that they could possibly throw out there and taken off to the hospital in critical condition. And it turns out that he would be resuscitated again upon arrival, and that he's been through it, been through all of it. And it apparently wasn't even anything to do with like neck or spine or head. Like it was a pretty typical hit that he made on the other player. And he like literally, the footage is amazing. Like, he tackles the guy or the guy tackles, I don't know who tackled who. Two big burly players impact each other like normal. And he popped up on his feet like, all right, and just go boink, straight back, flat on his back, I think, or forward. No, I don't remember. Anyway, dude was fucked. And it's really, really, really weird because we don't know exactly what's wrong with him yet. They haven't had enough time to figure it out. But there are a lot of interesting theories, including the theory that at just the right moment in your heart rhythm, if you have just the right amount of force to your body, you could be thrown into cardiac arrest. Like all these crazy freak accident odds that could be at play or not.
And again, I want to point out this bullshit about
this is new for me. What's
Oh, you haven't heard this thing? So there's this theory that the mRNA vaccine messes with your heart, which doesn't make any fucking sense whatsoever because COVID doesn't attack the heart. The mRNA doesn't latch onto the heart.
They're trying to say if he was vaxxed, he was the only person that has ever had this happen. I mean,
well, it's a potential complication that you can have a heart event because of the vaccine. No, I want to point out they tested this, and the irony is
out of the driveway. I mean,
the only people who've been having regularly having major health complications have been the one taking the not mRNA vaccine, the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, which was made the traditional way with live culture and dead cells, right, to trigger the immune response, which is that's been for the past 300 years. That's been how we make vaccines. Is you get a sample of the disease and then you cook it somehow, and you inject someone with what should hopefully be the dead virus or dead bacterium, and you hope that they don't get sicker from the way we used to treat smallpox is or vaccinate against smallpox is you had the doctor rolled around with some poor asshole who was dying of smallpox, and he would take a needle and he would put it into the pus of the smallpox of the person dying from smallpox, and he would run it over a flame for a few minutes to make sure that and then he would stick you with the same needle, right? So that your body would be like, oh, I don't like that, and generate an immune response, and the next time it saw a smallpox, be like, I remember you.
Yeah.
Fuck you. You die. Ironically, the mRNA vaccine has had less health complications because the mRNA vaccine has, of course, gone around it and said, oh, hey, immune system, by the way, I'm not actually the disease, but I'd like to introduce you to these proteins which mark the disease, and you should go kill them.
Well, he was, that's all horse shit. We know it. But he was on his stomach to try to relieve pressure and fluids and shit. Like, he's been through all of it. And I was just looking through the list of updates. They're going to be gradually getting him off the ventilator. Can't speak, but he's writing. he's had all sorts of interesting, like, on one hand, I think it's cool that people like flocked in to donate to the charity that he was involved with, where he had like a $2,500 goal, and uh, the the donations have flooded in, and it's been like a ridiculous amount. I forgot how much. At the same time, I kind of look at society going, you could have donated that much anyway. Like, why now? Like,
I mean,
dude didn't die. You're not doing it in his memory. You're just doing it because he's on the news. Like, it says a little something rotten about the scene as far as our human condition, that people are, buying his jersey's now the most purchased jersey. Like, dude's alive. Like, it's weird to me the way people react sometimes, but I think it's cool that there's been so much positive vibe thrown.
That's good. I like that. But I mean, my main thing
is where Rob's telling us that number.
My main vetch is with the NFL, right?
Yes, that's really the hook for us, because this is bigger than that. This is ultimately gladiator sport of, by, and for white people at the expense of black folks performing athletically and getting the shit beat out of them, and lifelong consequences.
And I want to point. I want to point something out.
For the man to make money.
No one's died in Canadian League football. No one's died in Australian rules football. No one's died in rugby. These are all full contact sports. These are all sports like rugby. Like, we're talking about a sport where, like, anything short of like kicking someone in the nuts and like poking someone directly in the eye is semi-legal, right? The only thing you can't do is just straight up blocks. Believe me, I've played rugby. It's a big thing. You cannot block people. Don't block people. Don't do it. You'll get ejected. There's a whole story. But anyway, I mean, there are plenty of full contact sports all around the world. Hell, the Italians have a sport. And Lucas, look it up for me, because it starts with a C. It's basically a combination of street fight / rugby / soccer. It's like Calcio
Fiorentino.
Calcio Fiorentino. This is literally a street fight.
Historic football, an early form of football that originated during the Middle Ages in Italy.
It's still played today, every year in Italy, in Florence. It's a straight up street fight. Like, you can punch people, you can kick people, you can't bite people.
Holy shit. Yeah, the photo of the modern players, they look like MMA guys playing rugby.
Right, that's what it is. Because it's straight up fighting. And still no one has died in this sport. But yet somehow we keep on ending up with players with brain damage, with stopped hearts, with crushed limbs in the NFL. We're doing something wrong here, ladies and gentlemen. The fact that the Italians can go do this sport, which is street fighting / rugby / soccer, and no one dies. I mean, we're talking about people walking away from this with regularly with broken noses, broken bones, and like they're like they get healed up, and they'll very often, right? And again, the suicide. You're right. The suicides from CTE. I mean, something's going wrong in the NFL, and we aren't taking a hard enough look about what's happening. We knew with CTE that doctors were passing on stuff.
Right.
I mean, but something else is going on here, where we see the potential. Like, for instance, soccer is the most played sport on the planet. People get, I mean, granted, there's a lot of theatrics, but people get kicked in the fucking head plenty of times. People get kicked in the neck. People get kicked, like, in vital organs all the time. And yet somehow they aren't dying. They aren't, like, medical staff isn't having...
earlobes, yes, we understand.
Medical staff isn't like, ambulances aren't having to, like, pull up to the field and perform CPR on players.
It seems to me that American football is probably the best example of profit at any cost in our culture. And it also appeals to a very, to me, undesirable base level of ooh-rah warfare that it's fine. I mean, I know plenty of big football fans. Football's not unfun to watch, but you're right. It's unique that we have such a danger in it. You really shouldn't have been having a go-to thought. Oh, somebody just got fucking killed on national television in front of the whole world. That shouldn't
Right?
have entered into your head. But it entered into your head because we've all been wondering how long it would take.
I mean, we've literally been prepping, like, and I would argue that mass media has been prepping us for another football death. Like, the last death that occurred on a football field was in 1971. It was a Detroit Lions player, and he took a bad hit to the chest. He was okay for a bit, but in the end, it triggered a heart attack, and he died on the field. And honestly, what I thought had happened, given how the fact that he had kind of lined up, Tua has had 3 concussions.
Yeah.
We need to start having a conversation about. Granted, this is a physical sport, but something is going wrong here. Where the physicality of the sport, either we need to start re-gauging how we measure teams and what's safe. Like, for instance, why does Tua have 3 concussions? Tua has 3 concussions because Tua doesn't have an offensive line to save his fucking life, right? There's no one protecting Tua, right? Tua is running back out of the pocket, trying to find something to pass to, and he's getting smacked. We need to have a conversation about the rules of this sport. Now, I've actually thought about how I've actually proposed at several points, but hey, what can we do to make the NFL better? There's a lot of rugby rules that I think would be useful, at least in terms of changing up the game, changing up how we do things, taking away a little bit of the power of the quarterback, and again, if Tua isn't the centerpiece of every fucking play, if the quarterback isn't the centerpiece of every play, then maybe he doesn't have to get hit as much.
Well, it also seems to me that this is a real example of the pretty uniquely American concept of just go work real hard for a few years, make a bunch of money, and you'll be the man. You'll be wealthy. You'll be the man. And it can apply in all kinds of ways. I mean, if you look at the average, I would say boomers and older, American male work ethic, it was always just tear the shit out of yourself. It'll be all right. You'll have lots of money to show for it. You will have worked hard and you'll save up a nice retirement, or you'll get a great pension, or you'll be in sports where you destroy your body for a period of 10, 15 years, or, if you just will not retire, Brady, 30 years or whatever, whatever it is. But this idea that it's cool, that it's fine, it's just the way we're going to do it. We're just going to go destroy ourselves and get a bunch of money because money is really what matters. That's such an American grossness. It's such a, it's an American toxicity before it's a masculine toxicity, but then it's got a layer of the masculine toxicity thing in it too. And I don't know. It's just it's one of the reasons why I rank football so low in my interest. And a lot of football fans don't want to hear it. If you follow sports, I mean, not really, no, but I do tend to follow hockey because I respect it. And that's one thing about hockey. It's honest about the violence. It's not even that harmful, and it's honest about the violence. Football tries to be dishonest. These are superheroes. They can do more and take more, and they're somehow special. So yeah, it's kind of whack. Weirdly, though, in my reading to argue with crazy people, I learned that cardiac events is the most prevalent cause of sudden death among athletes in general. Olivia points out, and that's a fair point. That is a very fair point. Also, yeah, Rob points out that there are interesting takes on dealing with this. Vince McMahon continued the show when Owen Hart died in the ring. And honestly, I guess in that context, you can kind of get past that moment because it's not front and center quite as knowingly to everybody, but with a football game, everybody was on the field. There was no recovering the morale and the ability to play and the concentration factor. Like, you could not have possibly in good conscience said, okay, well, he's really hurt bad and they took him to the hospital. Let's play ball. Like, it just wouldn't have worked out as any kind of game.
And
In
I'm
pro
going to point
wrestling,
out
you have a little bit more smoke and mirrors, that you can mess with, but it's still a little unscrupulous to just keep on trucking. But that's very Vince McMahon.
I would argue that most of pro wrestling is incredibly unscrupulous. Having been in physical,
talking about a destroy your body for money business, that's definitely one. Not a lot of.
Oh no, I've been in physical therapy with pro wrestlers, and like just the choices that they have to make between making their money and. I'm going to be honest. Like I put pro wrestlers and for any pro wrestler who ever watches this, it's not. I'm literally not saying this as an offensive thing. I'm saying this as a realistic thing.
His ass.
There's not a big difference between pro wrestlers and sex workers in terms of how much they have to put their bodies on the line to make their money.
That's
right.
Reasonable. I don't think that's an unreasonable.
In terms of these people go out and they destroy themselves. Like sex workers, I feel like more likely destroy like their psyches and mental and all sorts of other things. Pro wrestlers literally destroy their bodies, and they're doing it for not anywhere near enough money for what it costs later on down the line for them to get back in shape. I was in PT twice for both my knees. The first time I was with a pro wrestler who had taken a bad jump, and she had torn her ACL, just like me.
Oh.
And they managed to play it off, but her employer was not really sympathetic to the fact that I wrecked my knee for a bad stunt, and the second time was a guy who. Again, another bad jump. His leg had gone all the way through the stage. He did the jump. He put his foot down, and obviously they hadn't built the stage right. His leg smashed through the stage, and he ended up tearing just about everything you could possibly tear in your knee. We place a lot of money on sports and entertainment in the U.S. And one of the things that I will say this, the Europeans actually place more in their own way.
His comment a minute ago.
Oh, yeah, I want to come back to this. The cardiac event thing. One of the things that we keep on doing, especially, and I would argue one of the things that led to Damar Hamlin's event is instead of taking players and using their body types as they exist in sport, we're constantly asking football players, especially football players, to bulk up and bulk up and bulk up and bulk up. And for any of you who remember, there used to be this really great celebrity and professional wrestler, actually, named Andre the Giant. Now, Andre the Giant's problem was this. Bulk up, bulk up, bulk up, bulk up, bulk up. But the problem is Andre's heart was already too small for his size. He died because his heart literally could not pump hard enough to supply his body with blood. And the more he was physical, the more physical things that he did, the more big, bold action stuff that he did, the more muscle that he added, the harder his heart had to work. So he died relatively very young. I believe at like 40, 39, 42.
Rob's going to totally correct us, but I'm going to look it up anyway.
Yeah. I mean, he died relatively
46.
young. 46.
46.
He definitely didn't look 46 by the time he died. He looked like he was in his 50s. He looked like he was in his 50s or 60s because of how hard his heart had to work his entire life.
Yeah, when I
43.
first became aware of him, he was a pretty young-looking dude, and it didn't take long for for him to really start to look like he had like aged off of a cliff real fast.
I mean, we keep on asking these players in professional football for greater and greater acts of physicality. There was a time in sport. For those of you familiar with something that gets talked about a lot in football, the air raid, right? For those of you who are familiar, the air raid is a offensive strategy, right? Where you're constantly throwing pass after pass after pass after pass, right? Trying to force your opponent to constantly pull defensive linemen who would normally come after your quarterback, constantly force all of them back into the field. All like
Right.
every time I'm gonna pass, and every time I'm gonna have my receivers running all over creation to discombobulate your defense. That's a strategy, right?
Yeah.
We don't actually have I'm looking for someone to show up and be like, you know what, we need to go back to the days of when someone's playbook was important, because right now no one's playbook is important, right? No one cares about what your playbook says. We have standard defenses, we have standard offenses, and I feel like maybe that's part of what's led us to this point, is that it's just we've moved it to this point where it's just purely about the physicality of the players, to the point where they're hitting each other hard enough that concussion,
Heart stuff.
hit in the chest.
Joint stuff.
I mean, like,
Yeah.
I mean, because honestly, when they first stopped the game, I had to walk away for a second. I honestly thought it was the Bengals kick returner who was in the ambulance, because he'd been flipped over and landed on his neck.
Oh, okay.
I'm like,
Well,
shit, he broke his fucking neck.
It seems to me that the NFL is, of all of the sports or sports entertainment options, the one that keeps just tempting fate the most all the time. And it feels like we're not honest about it as a culture, because it's easy not to care. And if there could be a silver lining in this, of course, I hope that Hamlin makes a full recovery, and probably I would say he's going to retire. Maybe not. Maybe he's going to be the biggest comeback kid in the history of sports. But I don't know if he'll be able to. He might be told, you can't, whatever's wrong, whatever we find out, like maybe it'll be something where he really can't play. But maybe this will be the wake-up call. Maybe this will be the time when somebody says, hey, look, it's over, and we can't keep doing this shit. We can't keep running this kind of extreme game, chasing the dollar and chasing the ooh-ah factor to such an extent that we're literally rolling the dice on killing players. Because there's a reason that you thought that was a possibility, and we all did. So, and you can tell by the speechlessness of all the commentators, like literally having nothing to say, because if he's dead, we don't want to say certain stuff. So we can't really say anything. It was some of the most awkward minutes of live broadcast television I've ever seen on Monday night.
No, I mean, and again, I was certain that he was dead, mostly because when I was looking at the facts of 9 minutes of CPR, and I had other people like, oh, you can give 30 minutes of CPR. Motherfucker, like, CPR is only successful 10% of the time. Yeah,
it's a lot. The fact that he's still around played some odds. I got to tell you. I mean, you're right about that.
I feel like the NFL has been repeatedly playing those odds.
Oh,
and I feel like
shit out of fate.
There's coming a point in. Yeah, we're coming to a point where we've got to acknowledge that the situation in professional football has gotten to an extreme. Like we've reached a point where, again, where Tua has 3 concussions in a fucking season. What the fuck?
Right.
I mean, honestly, like, I say this because I feel like it's one of our best defensive performances ever. or 9 sacks of Joe Burrows in the playoffs last season. That's a lot of times to get hit.
Yeah.
And shoved down to the ground again and again and again by a 300, 250 pound, 275 pound guy coming at you full bore and hit. I really feel like we need to really start reevaluating football as a sport and what we're doing with it. Because again, rugby doesn't have these problems. Soccer doesn't have these problems. Australian rules doesn't have this problem. Canadian rules doesn't have this problem. We've got an over-muscled. We've got 2 crossbows pointed at each other, right? We've got 2 giant lines of guys who are tensed up, ready to go, and then slam into each other.
Well, and all you hear from the sport is, the training is, hit them harder, hit hard, hit them harder, and it's all for the shock value, the ooh-ah, like I said, gladiator combat. To me, the most analogous thing outside of pro wrestling to the old gladiator days is football. And I think from the ethics of it, football is straight up identical to gladiator combat. I think pro wrestling in the form of the art and entertainment piece of it is more like gladiator combat because it's presented the same way with the same predetermined outcomes in a lot of cases, the same hype, the same fandom. But I really feel like football is the most classist version, the most exploitative in the similar way to the gladiators. So hopefully it'll come around. Hopefully this will be a wake-up call. I told David I was going to make sure that we stayed on the shorter side tonight because I feel like I can barely breathe. I mean, you've probably seen me here all night. I've got a massive pile of tissues in front of me now from talking, and it makes the nose run. So we're gonna get into that final stretch and start wrapping it up because I'm calling the curfew for my own self-interest. But that's okay. It's we've been long-winded a lot of times anyway, so we arguably owe the universe some back time. David, good luck with the next round of sports played in your present. Hopefully the crowd isn't too awkward and tenuous when this time football is on in your bar. I see that being a little bit weird for everybody now that we've had this experience. But I think maybe we'll always a wake-up call. Anywho, ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate you being here. Thank you very much for joining us. And as always, please tell somebody. Please like, share, subscribe, all that shit. Do all the things.
We really like it. We really like more people to start getting involved. We really enjoy having all of you all here. And but again, please share. Go tell your friends. Hey, I watch these 2 idiots on YouTube or Facebook.
Yeah.
And grab a beer and watch them talk about shit. It'll be fun. One of them is really knowledgeable, and one of them is,
leaking from the face.
Yeah.
Whether it's words or not, apparently that is my lot in life right now. Ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate you as always, and this leaves us with only one more thing to do, David. That's to wish everybody good night,
good evening,
and
good luck.
Good luck.